Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 11 of Weekend Warriors, the review series for GranTurismo's sports car selection. Some in the more traditional sense, 2 doors, 2 seats, some which are perhaps larger, maybe a 2+2 layout. And this particular vehicle is a more conventional sports car in the typical sense, 2 doors, 2 seats, removable roof, relatively small and light. Not necessarily a huge amount of power, but like many of its rivals such as the MX-5, the Fiat Barchetta and various others, it's more about performance and fun on a budget rather than necessarily setting speed records or racing. It can be done in these cars, but that's not really their main purpose. Now, for the sake of the series, we are going to be reviewing this model, the TF160. Now there are 2 versions of this car, the MGF. There's the MGF standard model, in effect, and there's this version, the TF160. Now, it needs to be said, the faster of the 2 is the MGF. The less impressive, slightly older model is the quicker car. However, we're reviewing this model because it's the slightly more desirable of the 2. It looks a bit better, I'd say. It's a little bit newer, and it has more of a sporty, slightly more upmarket image. And it's still not slow, even though it is the slower of the 2. Now, in terms of spec, you get a 1.8 litre turbo engine in this car, pretty small, sprightly engine, and it does put out some pretty decent numbers. 353 horsepower, 232 foot-pounds of torque. And for a small, lightweight sports car, that's pretty much what you'd need. That's similar to stuff like the Lotus Elise, the Hummel Berlinette, so it's quite well placed. As far as weight, you would probably expect it to be reasonably light, and it is. Not as light as, say, the VX220 or the Lotus Elise, but still certainly not heavy, at 962 kilos in the case of this model. As far as horsepower per tonne, you're looking at 367, which is pretty good given the power, and the maximum PP when fully tuned is actually very, very reasonable on this particular model. 497 PP. That's really good. I would have personally predicted, before I'd ever owned this car on GT6, that it would be much higher than that, probably 510, maybe 520, possibly even a little more. So 497 is potentially very, very useful on this car. If it's a good car, if it offers good performance, that's a good PP level to be sitting at. Now, as far as price, this particular model costs just under 39 grand, which is well priced. That's pretty cheap, it's affordable, and the real question is, what do you get from that price in terms of actual performance? Well, in a straight line, as I already said, the older model is the quicker of the 2. This car, though, is still a seriously rapid little car. Now, for straight line speed, obviously it's not going to beat many supercars, but it's more than fast enough for its power and for its PP level. The acceleration is good, the top speed is surprisingly good, even better on the MGF, and the handling, although a little bit tail happy in a similar way to something like an MR2, is very good. Now, I would say that this is actually a better handling small mid-engine sports car than some of its rivals. It's, yes, tail happy, but not necessarily as much as some others. It's more controlled than the Lotus Elise, and perhaps a little bit easier to drive than some of the ultra lightweight sports cars like the Caterham. So overall, it's a pretty good deal, and the main way which I would say is better than many of those cars, or not necessarily better strictly speaking, but more advantageous at least, is that it's so much cheaper. Many small lightweight sports cars cost a lot more than this, so the price is a very good factor on this car. Now, in terms of overall range of ability, it's an underappreciated model, which is actually a lot better than people give it credit for. This car can get a lot done. It can win races. It makes for very fun one-make racing. The MGF model makes for a surprisingly good top speed car, and even this one certainly is no slouch. And overall, if you do fancy trying an alternative small sports car, especially on a budget, I'd definitely recommend giving this car a try, because you may just be surprised by how good it actually is. Especially when you think of it as kind of the sports car equivalent of a sleeper, because people don't expect it to be as good as it actually is. But that's it overall for this particular pick. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.